Tonga Hut Sid Thomas joins me today on this episode of Tiki with Ray. We talk about how he got into bartending, how he got into tiki, and what his future plans are going to be. It includes a trip to Australia to open up a tiki bar. Hi everyone, this is Ray, or some of you might know me as Tiki with Ray, and this is my tiki bedroom. I like to call it Tiki with Ray's Tiki Hideaway. I have a special guest in my bedroom today, Sid Thomas, all the way from Burbank, California. Is that right?
Yeah, that's where I live.
Is that where you... All right, that's it. I don't even know why that was funny. So, Sid, you are a bartender at Tonga Hut up in North Hollywood.
Correct.
How long have you been there?
This March will be 5 years.
5 years. How did you start bartending there? Were you into tiki before you became... Okay, how did you get into tiki?
Over the years, my taste in different things have been pretty eclectic. I'm very much into music.
What kind of music do you
I listen to a lot of old school punk rock.
Now, when you say old school punk rock, what is old school to you?
Late 70s, The Damned, The Buzzcocks, The Clash, The Ramones.
I thought you were gonna mean when you meant old school punk rock. I thought you were gonna say like Green Day and.
Oh God, no, never. They're not punk to me.
I grew up on a steady diet of like the Ramones, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, Sex Pistols.
Yeah, that's the best stuff.
And for what I understand, a lot of the people that revived the interest in tiki are punk rockers.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you get into A, you're into music, and then B, over the years, if you're open-minded enough, you become more eclectic with your musical tastes.
Yeah.
And it also transfers to how, say, you do the decor in your apartment. So. Yeah. There was a time where my apartment was kind of, for lack of a better description, like dark or gothy, and I got tired of it because I was like, this isn't really a great environment for me to be positive and whatever. It just it was too depressing. And then I got into mid-century modern design and furniture and stuff like that. Huge difference. And through that, there was a crossover at some point into tiki.
How did the tiki and then the mid-century connection happen for you then?
It was probably, I saw a combination of the two combined in some sort of, I don't know if it was a book or in real life, where people just brought them together and they worked, Yeah. The whole exotica and the escapism that we now know, that we use for the terminology to describe it, just worked well together. And I instantly became attracted to that, that decor and everything, and
So your interest in tiki started with the decor more so than the drinks,
right?
So how did you get into the drinks then?
Well, when I should kind of back up and say how I got into bartending at all.
How did you get into bartending?
Or how I got interested in alcohol. Growing up.
So Sid, how did you get into alcohol?
Growing up. In our house, when my dad was alive, he had a bar downstairs that he built between two rooms, and had like sliding doors that were wood paneling. And when he wasn't around, I used to go and check it out and
Now, when you say check it out,
I mean like
try the booze,
try it. And we also had a refrigerator. So on the right side was the office, and the other side was we called the rec room, the lounge room. So. We had a refrigerator with a tap on the side, and he had kegs and CO2 and whatever. A kegerator, right? I learned how to pour my first beers at home. In the 80s, I was working a lot of record stores, but I also decided to learn to bar back.
Okay.
So I started bar backing, and within the next year, I started bartending. And then... And
this is the 80s, right?
Yeah, the late 80s, and then I moved out here.
Before you go any further, so in the 80s, what was bartending back then? I mean, I can't see a lot of craft cocktails being made.
No,
right?
not at all. I mean, it was, live venue and
beer, right? Beer, shots,
Jack and
Coke, gin and tonic.
Your basic drinks,
No. I would like if someone ordered an old fashioned, that would probably have been off the charts.
I don't even
right?
think anybody did back then.
Yeah.
I don't remember it, but so I also I would buy. I moved to L.A. It was hard to find a bar gig out here. I had to take whatever work I could find. I moved 3,000 miles, and it was tough. Nobody.
Why did you move out to Los Angeles from DC?
DC was kind of dying as far as everything, the music scene to me and everything. I could feel it, and it just wasn't right anymore. I was bored.
And you lived in Washington D.C. in the '80s, right? Mm-hmm. So did you get to go to like shows at the 930 Club?
Yeah, that was my hangout.
Oh my God!
A lot of my friends were in some of the original DC hardcore bands.
Name names, please.
Danny Ingram, the drummer of Youth Brigade. He sold me my first Damned album.
Love Youth Brigade.
One of my former best friends who was killed this year out here, Fred Smith. He was in Beefeater.
Yeah.
I know everybody from Scream, the original Scream, before Dave Grohl joined.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The good Scream. And I remember a friend of mine hooked me up with the the Flex Your Head record, the Discord compilation.
Right.
And I remember that was life changing for me because there was bands like the Teen Idols, State of Alert, Youth Brigade.
Yeah,
Iron
Nathan,
Cross.
the singer of Teen Idols, is also a friend because he's best.
You know Nathan from the Teen Idols.
Yeah, he's also best friends with Danny from Youth Brigade.
Oh, well, he was in Youth Brigade, right? Nathan, wasn't he in it?
Yeah, I guess he was. I haven't pulled that record out of my collection.
Yeah, he totally
in a
is.
long
He's
time,
the singer of Youth Brigade and Teen Idols.
Okay, yeah. So he was in both. But him and Danny are like best friends.
So did you know Jeff Nelson and Ian?
I never met Jeff. I've met Ian a number of times because he was working at a record store in Maryland called Yesterday and Today, and I used to go there almost every weekend to buy records.
Oh my God!
I've been collecting records forever, so I bought a lot of great stuff from there over the years before I moved.
Were you friends with Bad Brains? Those guys?
I wasn't friends with them, but I used to see them before they moved to New York. So they got banned.
So you saw the Bad Brains back in the '80s.
Yeah.
Oh my God! What band were you into? Any of into the LA bands at all?
Not so much. Growing up, my favorites, and they still are from the UK. Okay. All the best bands, punk bands, came from there because they were writing about real issues. They were under Margaret Thatcher's rule and oppressed. They were actually really oppressed. And in my opinion, Southern California bands were writing about things like, oh, my parents wouldn't let me out. They won't give me a Pepsi or stuff like that.
And how bad can it be because you're living in paradise?
And it was whiny. And and a lot of them still sound whiny to me. And sorry, Southern California people, but it's
nice.
It's not tough. It's not what you grow up hearing. As punk rock. It's Southern California is so laid back, and I just felt like they didn't have the same issues to deal with. So I don't dislike LA bands. There's some great bands, but my favorites are from the UK and then New York.
Who do you like
the
from
Midwest?
UK? Do you like Discharge at all, or The Exploited?
The Damned is my all-time favorite band. I have almost 500 records by them. I still see them. I saw them 5 times this year, 4 times.
5 times?
Yeah. I did the whole West Coast tour, except for Sacramento. And they just finished recording a new album with Tony Visconti as the producer.
Really?
Yeah, and Bowie's one of my all-time favorite artists, so to have Tony on this, I can't wait to hear what it sounds like.
How did that hit you when you found out David Bowie died?
Oh, harsh. I mean, I was in tears. I couldn't eat, sleep, anything.
And
I even got a tribute tattoo on my chest 10 days after he died.
What's your favorite Bowie album?
Rise and Fall, Ziggy Stardust, and Spiders from Mars. Moon Age Daydream is my favorite song, and I have a drink called the Pink Monkey Bird.
Nice.
From a line from that song.
My favorite album from them, I think I gotta agree with you, with Ziggy Stardust. My favorite song is Suffragette City, and then Life on Mars. God damn it, that song goes in and rips your heart out.
Oh, totally, especially now.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I mean, music is much like Tiki. It's a way to escape. It's a therapy. I mean, because day-to-day life can be very stressful and difficult, and we need something to cope with it that isn't expensive. Sitting in an office talking to someone who doesn't really know you.
Yeah.
Music, that's the why things phrases like music makes the world go round and music soothes a savage beast actually mean something. And Tiki has kind of become a similar thing where, for me, it's not so much the music that people introduce in the scene. It's more the aesthetic, and of course, the booze helps, even though they say it's not good to drink when you're depressed or stress, but you know what? It's always going to be around. People drink when they're happy. People drink when they're sad.
I'm all about, when it comes to tiki, I'm all about the escapism.
Yeah.
I want the
and that's why I'm glad, like, for example, our bar is...
Yeah, let's
Tonga Hut is dark.
Yes, it is.
Mostly red lighting, except right now because we have Christmas lights up. It's a little bit brighter.
Every time y'all walk into the Tonga Hut, it's one of those things where you walk in, you have to like wait.
For most people, it takes 2 minutes to.
Yeah, you gotta like stop and be like,
yeah.
Okay, now I can see. The Tonga Hut's been around since like
1958.
1958. Yeah. So
this summer we're gonna have a huge 60th anniversary party.
Oh my god!
It's gonna be amazing.
So it is the oldest tiki bar in
LA.
Wow.
Yeah, it predates Tiki Tea by a few years, and unfortunately, it had multiple owners, and they kind of let it go a little bit in the '80s. So, I know some people were saying, well, it wasn't consistently tiki. It's not like they got rid of any of the features in it. The waterfall, the big mo, all that stuff was still there, and a lot of people forget that when they talk about the history of it.
Let's talk about something. I mean, in my opinion, when it comes to any of the vintage tiki bars, it's amazing that any of them survived.
Absolutely.
At all. I mean, we're talking the 70s and then the 80s and even like maybe a good chunk of the 90s before like anyone actually actually start caring about tiki anymore. Yeah. A decade is a long time. It's amazing because did anyone care? Okay, you were in Washington, D.C. in the 80s and you were old enough to be bartending, is that right?
Towards the tail end, yeah.
Till the tail end of that. Was there any interest in tiki at all back then that you could see?
No, I mean, I didn't even think about it. You know, when I was a kid, when I was younger, my dad used to take all of us, the family, to a restaurant nearby called Diamond Head.
Okay.
Named after,
Diamond Head,
Hawaii.
Yeah.
And it was I never even thought about it until later in life. It was very tiki tropical themed. They did Japanese food.
Yeah.
But of course, because it was the 80s, you got a cheap plastic lei put on you when you walk through the door. But my dad used to collect those things, and he'd keep them in the office. And
yeah.
It just didn't ever occur to me. In a number of years, when I long after he had died, I had gone back to visit, and I decided to peek into that same bar I used to peek into when I was a kid. Yeah, my mom still lives in the same house. The bar is still there. So I open up the doors, and what do I find? I find 2 old tiki mugs in there, and they're like underneath the glaze. They're cracking, because they're that old. And they may have been, one of those mass-marketed generic ones that you pick up.
Doesn't matter.
Maybe it came from Diamond Head, that restaurant.
It doesn't matter.
But I was like, this is so crazy. So I took him home. I brought him back to LA with me, and I have him at home. And my mom also informed me that when he was in college, he was a bartender, and I had no idea.
No way.
Yeah. A lot of people do that to make ends meet when they're in college. They work at bars because it's better money, and it's...
Of course, yeah.
You get to drink. So it's almost like it was genetics, like it was in my, I was meant to be through some weird process. And I moved out here, and it was really hard to get gigs, and I did whatever I could. I did other jobs. One night, me and the person I was dating at the time went to go see Nick Cave at the Fonda in Hollywood. And my current manager, who had already been a friend
Nick
for a
Cave
while.
and the Bad Seeds?
Yeah,
or
Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. So Marie, my manager, who's also a friend since about 2009 when I met her at Tiki Oasis. King? Yeah. She was there with her boyfriend at the time, now fiance, John Paul. And she asked me, so how's the bar? I'm like, I hate it. And she's like, right then, she's like, well, how would you like to start working at Tonga Hut? I'm like, I would absolutely love to. And I believe part of that came about because I had been going to Tiki Oasis and Caliente for a little while. And I like to create drinks. And Oasis, when you drink a lot of those drinks, there's so much citrus, you can get acid reflux, and it messes up your esophagus.
That's me right now.
You got to take a lot of pills. I decided to create 2 drinks that would avoid all that. So I created the Holidays in the Sun, the Tahitian Moon, and I used nectars instead of citrus juices.
I can't drink all.
They were a hit. Everyone loved them. I just gave them to them for free, and the word got around. And I guess people, from what I heard, people were pushing to get me into Tonga Hut when there was an opening. So at that point, that night, she offered me the job. It was one night. It was like Tuesdays. And I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Haven't looked back. And I picked up shifts all the time. And
so what days are you working at the Tonga Hut? So people know.
I do happy hours Sunday, Monday, and Wednesday. And then I work close on Saturday nights. And then, again, I pick up other shifts. So I started there, and once I was done with the other place, it was like a huge weight lifted. It just started, my creative juices just started flowing.
Yeah.
Like, incredibly. So I created about 2 new drinks a month, every month for a while.
Wow.
With the 2 drinks that I brought there, over the last 5 years, I have about 75 of my own drinks.
75
Yeah.
of your own drinks?
Yeah, my own creations.
Oh my God. Well.
One of them is, I created in 2014, is so popular that it's on the menu at the Palm Springs location too.
Which drink is that?
Cracking the Dole Whip.
Cracking the Dole Whip.
It was a play on words. I'd never had a Dole Whip at Disneyland. It was just a play on words. It was cracking the whip. And then I'm like, oh, we have all these Disney employees that like to come in.
Is there Dole Whip in it?
No. There's pineapple in it.
There's pineapple in it. What I love about tiki bars is you have a unique experience that you can't get anywhere else. You go into a place like the Tonga Hut, you can't get that experience just at any other bar. Mm-mm. And on top of it, you're getting drinks that you can't get. Like you just said, cracking the Dole Whip. You can't get a cracking the Dole Whip at your bar down the street or anywhere else for that matter. And that's
except for the Tonga Palm Springs.
Except for the Tonga Palm Springs. And that's what I really love about it, because you are dealing with drinks that are unique and original to the bars. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get your crack in the Dole Whip, you're either going to Palm Springs or you're going to go see you at the Tonga Hut in North Hollywood.
Yeah, I mean, at the Palm Springs, you can get it from any bartender. At my location, because I created it, you can only get it from me.
The Tonga Hut menu. There's the standard menu.
Right.
Which has your classics.
It has. You can tell it was originally like a trifold menu meant to go on like the tabletops, and it still looks like that. We're having a new menu. Created right now by Susanna Mosier.
Okay, yeah.
And so the first column is classics.
Mm-hmm.
The second is Tonga Hut originals.
Mm-hmm.
The third, at the top, it says seasonal still, and I think the first drink, which is the hot buttered rum, is really technically the only seasonal, even though the Dunkin' for Apples tastes more fallish. Mm-hmm. You could say it's seasonal, but it's they've always been on there, and we just have to tell people, all right, unless it's winter, we don't offer the hot buttered rum.
Yeah.
Everything else we offered. For a while, we had something called the Sylvia's Martini, named after a regular that used to go there, who passed a long time ago. This year, that finally came off, and we put the Painkiller on. So that column is kind of a weird column.
It's always transitional, is what you're saying.
That's the first time a new drink has been added, or something has been taken off and something's been put on since I've been there. But on the new menus, things are going to be different. I think it's going to be classics, Tonga Hut originals, and then there's going to be featured bartenders originals.
And then you can work towards being a drooling bastard, right? And how does that work? Because that's not on the menu. You have to...
No. None of the drinks, even though a couple of them are the same names, they're slightly different recipes.
So how does that work? So say someone wants to...
Well, Jeff Berry, who has a tiki bar in New Orleans, Latitude 29, he was like a cocktail sort of archaeologist, and he would do a lot of research, and he would try to find the original recipes, and they were difficult to find.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They were very secretive, proprietary, and so he did the best he could, and he put together this book of a lot of recipes. Some of them are just... There might be a couple in there, I think, that are his. Yeah. It's basically...
The grog log.
It's a challenge. You have 1 year's time to drink every drink in the book, with the exception of the Mai Tai. We sign off on that because everyone's pretty much had a Mai Tai.
Yeah.
At the end of it, you get a little tiki medallion, Tonga tiki medallion, that gives you $1 off all your tropical drinks for life. You make your own cool plaque. It goes up on the wall permanently. Yeah. You're part of the Loyal Order of the Drooling Bastards. And you also can go in on the fez. We pay a small portion of it, and you pay for the rest, and it has the Drooling Bastard logo on it.
So let's talk about Hades Hula House.
Hades Hula House.
Hades Hula House.
Hades, like the like hell.
Yeah, like hell. Tell us.
Well, in September, I went to Australia for my birthday.
Is this your first time you went to Australia?
Yes, it's been on my bucket list, and I'm just like, I'm going. So I did a week in Melbourne and a week in Sydney. I met a ton of amazing people, but while I was in Sydney, there happened to be a big tiki event there. It's called Suck 'em Up Sydney, and they do different events, and they're always Suck 'em Up something, which is something that Don Ho used to say.
There's a tiki scene in Australia.
Oh, huge.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like Doug Horn and a lot of other artists sell a lot of art to people in Australia. Wow. So at this event, one night started at Jacoby's Tiki Bar in Sydney, which is a new tiki bar, and it's basically Twin Peaks meets tiki.
Oh, I love that.
And yeah, it's bizarre in it, but it's cool. And they're awesome people. They gave me one of their shirts. That first night I met this girl from Adelaide, and turns out she's opening up a tiki bar in Semaphore, which is a suburb of Adelaide near the water.
Okay.
Been planning it for 4 years. Kept in touch, and she decided she wanted to hire me to train the bar staff and help develop the cocktail menu. So I'm going to be going back on January 31st for 2.5 weeks to help her open this bar. And then I come back and resume work at Tonga Hut. So it's really exciting for me because this is the first time I've done this.
Wow.
And it's going to be a great event. It's going to be 2 new tiki mugs, one by Big Toe, Tom Laura, and one by a local artist. At least 1 or 2 bands. It's going to be a great weekend.
That's awesome.
It's a restaurant as well, so there'll be food.
Did you think when you were stealing liquor from your dad back in the early 80s that this is where it would come to?
No, you know what?
That you'd be being paid to fly to Australia to help set up a team.
No, that is the furthest thing from my mind. Actually, I grew up, and I'm not into sports at all now, but
yeah,
I got into soccer in 1976, and I wasn't good at first, but I became really good at it later.
Yeah,
my aspirations actually were to go pro, and my favorite player was Pele, and one of the players that my dad coached in high school went straight from our high school to the New York Cosmos and played with Pele.
No way.
So,
I
thought I was going to be doing that.
You thought you were going to be the next Pele.
But then once I started going out and seeing bands and drinking, you get out of shape and you don't have the stamina to run 2 hours or 90 minutes anymore. Yeah. So I'm like, I kind of put that on the back burner, forgot about it for a while. Tried again later on out here, and it just wasn't in the cards. And I love what I do.
There's a lot of people that love what you do.
Yeah, I guess so, and I feel very fortunate. I'm very grateful for it. It's.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Sid. I'm very grateful that you came on my show.
Well, thank you.
So with that, mahalo, aloha, and good night. Here, I gotta finish mine too.
I just finished Amy's.
Thank you. Thank you very much. How'd that sound, Amy?
Awesome.
I preserve myself with whiskey and cocktails.
Yeah, I mean, this thins your blood, right?
Yeah, I guess it does.
Amy! Alcohol's a blood thinner, right? Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.